to Steeler Nation Live. I'm Big O.
I'm Big Tiz.
And we're here with some more bad news. Steelers get totally destroyed, 55-31 at the hands of the New England Patriots.
Guys, you know what? It was hard pressed to even see this on TV, to see it just come to fruition, to come to realize that the Steelers are in dire straits right now, Big O. And I really don't know what they're going to do to rectify the situation. There's changes that need to be had all over the organization, the way things looked on Sunday against the New England Patriots.
Yeah, after all the years of being a Steeler fan, I think Sunday was the first time that I was ever embarrassed by the play of the Pittsburgh Steelers. Even when they had seasons where they weren't 500, below 500, but I've never seen the lack of play from a Pittsburgh Steeler team in all my I'm not going to give you my age, but all my so many years of being a Steeler fan.
Yeah, it was a hard thing to stomach. A lot of you fans out there who watched the game, maybe some of you didn't even bother finish watching the game. But, you know, we'll talk about it later. But I do give the Steelers some respect on certain things in the game. And there were a lot of things where they just were so out of place it was ridiculous. But you know what? The Steelers slipped to 2-6 in the division, where the Bengals are leading at 6-3. The Browns now at a steady 3-5. And the Ravens are slipping down close to the Steelers. I believe the Ravens now are like 3-5.
That's correct, because one game behind them. If you look at the standings, it looks like almost like you're looking at a mirror.
Right.
From how it used to be in the past. That us and the Ravens, the Steelers and the Ravens, were fighting for that 1-2 position, where the Bengals and the Browns were fighting to stay out of the cellar. Now it's reversed, and I'm not liking it. I'm not used to this kind of behavior by the Pittsburgh Steelers. It almost looked like Sunday that one team wanted to win, the other team didn't. It just didn't add up. They weren't. One hand wasn't washing the other hand, and they weren't on the same page. And I believe that was the downfall.
Right, and you could see it from the play of the defense, where there were guys that were missing tackles. Also, you had got receivers out there running around freely open. Guys not getting bumped at the line of scrimmage. So there are a lot of things that have to be done for the Steelers to rectify the situation, and I can't see it being rectified there quickly. So like I said, we have to look at next year's draft coming up and get a feeling for that as well. And if the Steelers can play it out and give us a decent record, then so be it. But the thing about it is, they have to play 60 minutes of football, and the Steelers are right now, they're not doing that. They're playing in spurts.
Right. Now let's rewind to last week's show, where I said here, you can check out the show, I said Brady is looking for a breakout game, because the record the Patriots had back then, last week, didn't fit their play.
Right.
I believe Brady was throwing an average of 200 yards per game. The rushing was below or at around 100 yards per game, and they were getting those the wins. They were just fighting them out and getting the wins. Now I said last week that Brady is due for a breakout game, and I hope it's not against us. And you know what? It was against us, and it was horrible to watch. And this is coming from a guy who Big Tiz, from preseason, said this is going to be a 12-4 team, and I still have that attitude that we're going to at least be a 500 team. But I am starting to say, I'm taking those rose-colored glasses off, and I'm starting to see what's really happening. It's great to be enthusiastic about your team winning. We all want our team to win. We always hope for good things. I overhoped, if you can even say that. But I was just really, really hoping that the Steelers would turn this around. And it's either one half of the team shows up, the other half doesn't, and we're playing catch-up. We cannot do that. And especially against a quality caliber quarterback like Tom Brady and New England Patriots. They had their breakout game, and unfortunately
it definitely was a breakout game. The Patriots are hitting on all cylinders, on the run game, which I consider to be okay backs. These guys were getting 100 yards on us, and even the backups were coming in scoring touchdowns or picking up first downs. And these are things the Steelers couldn't stop. I mean, whatever they did, the Patriots wanted to do, it worked. So the Steelers have to go back to the drawing board, and it's going to start this weekend. Well, we'll talk about it later, but it's going to start this Sunday with the Buffalo Bills. Coming from up here in upstate New York, these guys are they're charging loud and they're saying it loud and they're thinking that the Buffalo Bills are going to beat the Steelers. And right now, at the point the Steelers are, I don't know if the Steelers can beat them. I mean, but you know what? I have faith in my black and gold, and I hope that they can.
Oh, absolutely. We can't lose faith. Just like when we were 0-4, we got a couple wins out there. We got to keep the faith. And getting back to the New England running game with Stephen Ridley, 126 yards on the ground. A couple games before, he couldn't even run tap water.
Right.
And it's ridiculous that a team could run against the Steelers, our Steeler D, that is so tenacious against the run. Even in losses, we've always held their star running back to below 100 yards. Peterson, we held him below. And, various other high-profile running backs, we've held below 100 yards. And it's just, when everything was going wrong, it just kept on going wrong.
Right. Well, you know what, guys? We know how we all feel out here on the East Coast, all the way from up here near Buffalo, New York, and Rochester, to all the way down there to Pittsburgh and beyond on the East Coast. Well, let's get the feel from Rudy Rude Dog Reyes, our West Coast guy out there on the West Coast, giving us the feedback on how they feeling out there on the West Coast. And I'm pretty sure it might be the same sentiments, but you know what? Like I said, he's the guy that's going to bridge that gap from West to East Coast. So we're going to bring on Rudy. Rudy, tell him what's going on here on Steeler Nation Live, West Coast.
From our studios out in Rochester, New York, we head out west to Southern California where the palm trees are swaying as we check out Rudy Rude Dog Reyes as he does his thing out there for Steeler Nation Live. Rudy, what's going on out there in the West Coast for Steeler Nation Live?
Big Tiz, Big O, Rudy Rude Dog Reyes reporting live from Southern California. Gentlemen, it seems that we are in a serious state of disarray. Our offensive line not performing until the last possible minute. That's not acceptable. Defensive line, secondary is pathetic. I cannot believe they would allow Gronkowski to have as many receiving yards and yards after catch on every play. The wide receivers were way too open. Our secondary has been too soft. Ike Taylor, dude, wake up. Ryan Clark, look, come on, man. Understand the scheme of things. Let's get this into perspective. We are not going to win any more games at the way that we're currently playing it right now. I mean, Tom Brady threw for over 432 yards with 4 touchdowns. How can you let this go? Come on, Mr. LeBeau, I love you. You're awesome, but let's understand this scheme. Tomlin, you need to get some fire. I could put a tablet on Bill Cowher's chin and see the table of 4 with as enough spit and fire as coming out of his mouth and his passion and his desire in his eyes. I think you may need to have a conversation with him. With that being said, Steeler Nation, we are not looking very good. We are almost a laughingstock of the NFL. I tell it like it is. That's what I do. Steeler fans all over Facebook are crying for Todd Haley's firing, Coach Tomlin's firing. Again, that's their perspective. My perspective is we need to have some accountability in the biggest ways, and we need to do it now because we're not getting any better. Things are not changing. The next man up policy will not work. So with that being said, guys, Big Tiz, Big O, I got one word, and that's Pittsburgh. I believe black and gold, but we need to get this thing rolling now. Here we go.
Uniform Express, located on 1408 Buffalo Road, Rochester, New York, for your police, fire, or EMS supplies. One of Rochester's top and finest suppliers of shirts, pants, shoes, boots, and accessories for your professional uniform needs. Uniform Express also does embroidery and screen print for team uniforms, jerseys, and corporations. Hours are Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. You can also go to their website at www.uniformexpress.com or call Brian at 585-529-4245. That's 585-529-4245. And let Brian know you heard his ad on our show, Steeler Nation Live.
Welcome back to Steeler Nation Live. Big Tiz.
Big O.
Rudy, want to thank you guys out there on the West Coast for giving us your report. I'm pretty sure you guys are, frustrated as much as we are here on the East Coast, and as the frustration is building, everybody's wanting to see the Steelers succeed, but you know what? Things happen. Every team goes through this, so we all have to stay steady, you know what I mean? Support our Steelers, and let's keep it moving. And, we're going to talk about a lot of things that went wrong in this game against the New England Patriots, and there were a lot of things. So you know what? Sit down, watch the screen, and we're going to let you know. And it's a big list.
Did we fail to mention that this is our super duper 3-hour show this week, and we're just going to cover what went wrong because of what went right? No? Okay, we're going to start off with a few things. A lot of big plays. We gave up a lot of big plays, not only on defense but offense.
Yep.
A lot of too many 3-and-outs. Too many. We talked about this constantly. We cannot play catch-up ball. We cannot do it. And at times, our secondary looked very confused, like they didn't know what play was coming in or how to counter what New England set up.
Right.
They just looked really lost, and even Palomalo looked lost, and he got burned a couple of times as well.
Well, the hard thing with that, but it seemed like to me that New England was running basic plays and the Steelers' secondary seemed like they didn't know what was going on.
I think the fact that perhaps the defense was overthinking, that Brady was coming up with this big mind game, these awesome plays, these new trick plays. But like you said, Big Tiz, it just looked like basic plays to me. I think we were overthinking on the defense. And Palomalo was quoted as saying it didn't matter what defense was out there that day, that Brady was on his game and nobody's going to stop him, which, coming from Troy, I kind of respect what he has to say.
Right.
But that sounds to me like you're just covering.
Right.
You know what I mean? Own what happened. You know what I mean? I saw he got turned around a couple plays and got burned a couple plays.
Yeah.
It's not very hard, but I think the defense overthought too many times yesterday.
Exactly. And there was also too many penalties that kept the drive going for New England Patriots, especially on third downs, which was always a problem for the Steelers anyway.
Absolutely.
Willie Gay picking up a big pass interference penalty on a third down, which kept drives going. And these are things that the Steelers have to stop. The secondary right now, they seem like they're so slow. It's like they're running behind receivers and not taking the steps to jam receivers at the line of scrimmage. Maybe they're not doing it because these young guys have problems keeping up with these receivers out there. But that's what you have to do to disrupt pass patterns.
Now, we'd like to say too many sacks once again, but it's getting to be the norm. They're averaging like 5 to 6 sacks a game on Roethlisberger. Now, that can be attributed to his poor performance, his lack of thinking in the pocket, overthrowing receivers. Now you could look at this, you could scrutinize it as much as you want, and you could come up with all the excuses in the world. Do they sound like possible? Sure. If there's not blocking and he's getting rushed, he's going to overthrow receivers.
Right.
The receivers not running their routes. Mm-hmm. I think it all stems from the pass blocking. If you have the pass blocking, then don't have Roethlisberger second guessing himself and throwing into situations that he shouldn't be throwing into. Thus, we get interceptions and turnovers and sacks and fumbles. It just, I don't know. Not to make excuses, but you have to figure out why Roethlisberger is playing as horrible as he is. But then again, we'll get to the good points in a few minutes.
Well, some of the other aspects of the things that went wrong was the blocking. The blocking was as usual, very bad, very poor, D- type blocking. And the fact is that even one of the interceptions that Roethlisberger threw earlier in the game, it went from a guy blitzing up the middle, and Roethlisberger thought he was going to get hit because he's so used to being hit.
True.
That he threw the ball basically just to get it out of his hands, it seemed like to me, and he threw a pick. And the sacks that come along with it, they take us out of range to try to get drives going. It's horrendous. The blocking for the run game, don't get me wrong, Le'Veon Bell is a great talent. I just hope that we don't waste him by poor blocking. And as you alluded to earlier, too many 3-and-out for the Steelers. The Steelers, one drive they have to be successful on at the beginning of a game, going down. I don't care if you get a field goal. I'd rather a touchdown,
right,
but at least get a score on your first initial drive. The Steelers still can't do that.
No, you have to set precedents. You have to set your game tone for that game. You want to have them play catch up. You want to get them off their game plan. You want to just, like you said, even if you kick a field goal, you want to get some points on the board. However, a touchdown, you really need the 7, not the 3. But you have to set some type of tone, offensive. I thought actually the Steelers we talked about this pregame. I thought the Steelers were going to come out with a no-huddle offense and try to make the defense of the Patriots work a little harder and get them on their heels, but that wasn't the case, Big Tiz.
Yeah, I mean, it was just so many things that went wrong in this game for the Steelers. And one of them was the Steelers were always playing catch-up in this game. I mean, from the start where the Patriots put the game out of reach early, but the Steelers fought back to tie it. But, that takes a lot of energy out of a team, trying to fight back, trying to fight to keep in a game. And they gave up just about over 600 yards of offense.
I think it was 609 yards, and that is unheard of. You're going to have those games. You can't be perfect or near perfect for the whole time that you're around the league, because starting from 1933 to now, there were moments where there was horrible games and whatnot. This is bound to happen. We're not prepared for it because we're not accustomed to it.
Right.
Now that it's over, said and done, we either learn from it or we run from it. We talked about this earlier in previous shows. Hopefully the Steelers can learn from it. And you know what, folks? 55 to 31, that's a blowout. But you know what? It wasn't 55 to 3.
Right.
It wasn't 55 to 10. We scored 31 points, and we racked up some yards too, which means that we're really not that dead. That there's some life to us. That we do have a pulse, and we could come out of this. And hopefully, this is the wake-up call, because Tomlin's throwing around people losing jobs. And you know what? What do we got to lose?
Exactly.
We're losing games now. Let's get some people in there who might, contribute to the team in a worthwhile way, or they might shake up the guys who are getting pulled to say, I better wake up. I better get in there and I better play. Because it looked like to me, and you could agree with me or disagree on this, that sometimes it seemed like they were just going through the motions. Just being on the field, just running through the plays. Okay, first down, whatever. Second down, whatever. First down, they're just going through it. Okay, they score, our offense will get out there.
Right.
And vice versa. 3 and out, don't worry, our defense will hold. We're known for this. And what happened? Bam. 53-yard bomb, 20, 30-yard run. It just, we're not dead yet. We do have a pulse, and we're not totally getting annihilated off our game.
Right. I mean, it was a bad game there, and in certain aspects, it was a bad game all around for the Steelers, but the offense did show a little bit more life in this game. The Steelers had to put together a whole complete package, and they haven't done that really yet this year. Even in the game versus the New York Jets, which they won, it still was inconsistencies. You know what I mean? It was never
absolutely.
A complete package. The Steelers have to put together a complete package, and one game we'll have the offense kind of clicking and firing, trying to get touchdowns, get in games, and then we'll have the defense not stopping the other team at all. Versus the Vikings, same type of scenario.
True.
And those things, they make difference. They make a difference in a game, and that's why we're sitting at 2-6 right now.
And also another positive we can look at, one of the main objectives we can look at is our division is horrible, except for the Cincinnati Bengals with a 6-3 record, 3 games over 500. Everybody else is below 500. So there still is a hope. There still is a chance that we can vie for some type of playoff spot.
Right.
And we could even, if not, let's be a spoiler. But I don't want to get to that point yet. We still have a chance. There's still a lot of games left to go. The Ravens are still losing. The Browns are still losing.
Well, they won, but
they beat the Ravens.
But they're inconsistent as well.
Right. So we need one game to match that. We can win one game and then they lose next week, so we're all tied. Except, if the Bengals, if everybody could lose, keep on losing, that's fine. We keep on winning, we're bound to meet somewhere. And
exactly.
And it can happen as well.
Well, let's talk about some of the things. Since we're talking about somewhat of some positive things, let's talk about things that actually went right for the Steelers in this game. And I know a lot of you fans out there, you're trying to figure it out yourself, but we found some things that went right in that game versus New England Patriots. And one of them was that Roethlisberger got his 200th touchdown pass in this game.
Great. Yes. Also, Kotchery, 3 touchdown receptions.
Big step up for Kotchery in this game.
Now, I was hoping that Heath Miller would be the go-to guy because he's my fantasy team. He had a pretty decent day. Heath Miller I think he had 46, 47 yards, a couple catches. But you know what? kudos goes out to Cotchery, veteran receiver. That's what we want to see. We want to see the veteran receiver showing these young kids, because he's no spring chicken, if you want to say that. And he's out there running routes and scoring touchdowns. Now, this is what we drafted these guys for. Marcus Wheaton, who's been out with a broken finger. Hopefully, he can, get some of this genre, some kind of, momentum, some kind of mentoring from Cotchery. Look at him. Look what he's doing. I can do that. This is what the Steelers drafted me to do. But I got to get out there to do it.
Well, like I said, that's one guy who I said so many episodes before, the fact that I love that Marcus Wheaton. I think that when he comes back, he's going to add so much to that package.
Oh, absolutely. The speed, and not only speed, he's got catching ability and route running ability. It just, everything seems to be going wrong the first half of the season. We're getting around to midseason right now where the Steelers, okay, we'll put these games behind. I would rather have the Steelers lose now, these games, than get to the end of the season where it really means something and you lose then.
Right.
But we still have a chance. We have a pulse.
Well, the Steelers rushed for over 100 yards in this game versus New England Patriots, which I was impressed with Le'Veon Bell, the things he was doing, the openings he was finding, trying to get more yards, picking up yards in the receiving game as well. Granted, he did drop some passes, but you know what? He's a young back, and hopefully he'll learn and evolve from this.
Just imagine if he had blocking.
Yeah, it'd be dangerous.
This pretty much is with no blocking whatsoever, and he's getting 76 yards against a tough Patriot defense. I mean, they're 6-2 for a reason.
Exactly.
But we'll talk. When we raced a 24-10 deficit. Now you're on the road and you're getting schooled. I mean, from right out of the gate, the Patriots had our number, and when you go up 24-10, it's really, really hard on the road to come back and even make a game out of it. They could have bowed down, and he could have said, you know what, we'll play for next week, but they did it. They tied it up.
And what do you think is the final thing that went well for the Steelers in this game against the New England Patriots?
They got on a plane and got the heck out of there.
That's 100% correct.
That's true.
We were able to finish the game out. You know what? I seen the Steelers were trying to stop these guys, at least to stop the bleeding. These guys were, I honestly, I thought they were going to score 60-something. So we ended it. We got a first down late in the game. Ended it out, wrapped up the troops, and got the hell out of Dodge. I mean, that's all we could do. And
tail between your legs. I mean, whatever. Hey, they kicked their butts. I mean, there's no way to sugarcoat this. And this has come from Big O, 12-4, Big O.
Yep.
All right.
It was an ugly thing to see, but you know what? I watched it, and I wanted to turn the TV a lot of times, but that's my team.
Right.
So, and I'm a true fan, and I love my Steelers. Big O, let's step on some of the stats in this game versus the Pats.
Well, we touched lightly on the total yards for the Patriots, 610 yards total offense, passing and rushing, to the Steelers 479. Now, if you just black out the Patriots stats and you look at the Steelers stats, you're thinking this team won.
Right.
Okay? But then once you look on the Patriots side, you're like, well, I don't think so. But when you get down to the time possession, the Steelers had the ball almost 32 minutes to the Patriots 28 minutes. Now, once again, if you have possession of the ball, you're controlling the clock. Once another sign says that you are winning this game or you have won this game. No, that becomes where the Patriots had those big plays, the big touchdowns, the long runs, where they didn't need all that time. When they had to just get the job done, and they did it in a timely fashion. Didn't need to run the clock out. It's kind of hard to run the clock out when you're throwing 80-yard bombs and 60-yard bombs and whatever, and the clock is really tick-tack-tack-tacking. You know what I'm saying? So getting back to the Steelers, penalized. Now we're getting back into that motion where when we first started the season, even though we were losing games, we had 3-4 penalties per game. Now we're back up to 8 penalties for 96 yards. Now I could say two of those were probably the pass interference ones. We went for a long distance. But still, come on, guys. I mean, you're professionals. You've been doing this for how long? And we all know that holding can be called on any play. You watch any football game, and you could see everybody's holding. It all depends on if the referee's going to call it or not.
Exactly. Well, Roethlisberger, had a decent day. 28 of 48, 400 yards, 4 touchdowns, 2 big interceptions, but you know what? He played like a trooper, but there were times when he did miss open receivers, which he should have had, and woulda, coulda, shoulda, but he played halfway decent.
He did.
Le'Veon Bell, 16 carries, like you said, 74 yards, 4.6 yard average.
That's not bad.
No,
That's not bad at all. I think that's the best. I think our second best was, 2.7 yards per game. That was earlier in the season. So
Exactly.
we're getting there. And like I alluded earlier, just imagine if we had somebody who could block for this kid.
True, very true. Sanders, six catches, 98 yards. He did decent in spurts, like I said, but the thing is, he has to start getting a better, some more separation from these defensive backs.
Right.
Because we definitely need him, and he can do it from time to time, but we need him to be a more steadier receiver.
Right. There's a contribution of receivers out there. Also, we had Brown, 5 catches, 71 yards, a TD.
Yep.
And our man,
Cotchery.
Jericho Cotchery, 7 receptions, 96 yards, and the big number, Big Tiz?
3 TDs.
3 TDs.
Yep. It's a beautiful thing to see.
3 TDs. Let's see who catches that.
I know. Well, the defense for the Steelers, 3 sacks. But, their sack totals aren't too bad yet this year. But the thing about it is 3 sacks. But then, during the game, as the game goes on, I see a lot of times where they're so close to getting sacks, but they're not getting there. And one fumble recovery, which was Palomalo stripping one of the running backs out there for New England and picked up a nice fumble recovery. So that was a good positive for the Steelers as well.
Right. We did, believe it or not, we did have a lot of pressure on Brady. But when the receivers get that separation and there's nobody covering him, he just throws the ball up and they run underneath it. So there's right there. I mean, we either have the pressure or we don't have the pressure. We have the pressure, no coverage. We have coverage, no pressure. So I don't even know what's worse, because if there's coverage and no pressure, that leaves the quarterback more time to find somebody open.
Right.
As opposed to no coverage and a lot of pressure where he can just get the ball out, 3-step and throw it. That helps out when the receivers know how to do their routes.
Exactly.
Run their routes.
And speaking of receivers for the New England Patriots, these guys had big days, and that was, our defense had a rough outing. Gronkowski, 9 catches, 143 yards, 1 touchdown.
Now that's a tight end.
Yeah.
He's a tight end. He's not the number 1 wide out. He's not the number 2 wide out or 3. He's the tight end with 143 yards.
Yeah. And then we also had some of the other receivers who, to me, are, not top of the line receivers.
Rookies.
Yeah. 5 for 130 yards with the big 81 yard bomb.
Ow.
Unbelievable.
Ow.
That hurt bad.
Hurts.
And Amendola, 4 catches, 122 yards, 1 touchdown, and he was wide open on some plays I've seen. I mean, it was just amazing to watch. Unheard of. And of all, one thing, Brady, like he's always a little machine there, 23 of 33, 432 yards, 4 touchdowns, no picks.
Yeah, that's the difference between, besides winning the game, between him and Roethlisberger, were the 2 interceptions right there. You take those interceptions out, they're pretty much comparable. And then you look at the stats, like I said earlier, you would think Pittsburgh won this game. You would never in a million years look at the score and saw 55-31 by the way Roethlisberger threw the ball, how he held onto the ball, how he ran with the ball. It just, it's a whole package, 60 minutes of play, Big Tiz.
Exactly.
We need that, and we're not getting it. Even with our 2 wins, we still did not get, like you alluded to earlier, we still not get 60 minutes of play by both sides of the ball.
Right. Well, in this game against New England, we did have some injuries, for the Steelers. And these were injuries that, it might affect us in this upcoming game against the Buffalo Bills. So these, to me, are going to be huge injuries. And these are going to be some guys that were even out from the last game. So these are going to be some big ones. I'm going to let Big O read off some of the injuries that happened with the Steelers and the whole injury report for the Steelers right now.
Absolutely. Well, we had a couple guys that left the game early yesterday due to concussions. Vince Williams and Ike Taylor. Pretty much with the way concussions are ruled these days, how the time of that they allow you to get healed, I really highly doubt that they'll be playing Sunday against Buffalo, since it's a 1 o'clock game and Sunday is right around the corner. Right now, they're listed as out, but that could be upgraded to probable or highly doubtful. Also, Marcus Gilbert out with an ankle injury, reoccurring ankle injury. we can not we, but the Steelers can the Steelers can possibly upgrade him as well to probable or doubtful. Also, Guy Wimper, he's doubtful with a knee injury. Marcus Wheaton, we talked about earlier with the broken finger, he is out. I don't see him being listed as probable or doubtful because he's been out for the past 2 games with that finger. And Timmons, questionable. He'll be questionable with that hand injury. We don't know if there's a fracture in it or what now with his hand, but we know he's going to suit up and he's going to play. But we cannot be sure, 100% sure. I think he'll be playing Sunday against Buffalo, but here we go. The injury bug is starting to bite us and bite us hard.
Right. But you know what? To be a resilient team, sometimes you have to find ways to fight and get over that. And that's one thing I do give the New England Patriots credit on, is the fact that they're very good at plugging holes. People go down, injuries or whatnot, and they find people and they put them there and they produce. And, because he's a no-nonsense guy, Bill Belichick, he will fire you. You know what I mean? And this guy is no joke. And that's what Tomlin is trying to get himself into that mode. And he's talking about having to let some guys go. But You know what? Right now we're going to go to commercial here on Steeler Nation Live. When we come back, we're going to preview the Bills game coming to Pittsburgh. And also we're going to get into our segment about Gone But Not Forgotten. And we'll see you next up after these commercials here on Steeler Nation Live.
And also don't forget your Steeler future weather forecast will be coming up soon.
It's McGinney Sports Pub, located at 2246 East River Road. A perfect blend of Irish charm and Italian cuisine. From Calabria favorites like calamari to chicken French to the new signature dish like the Steel City Deli.
The Rothless Burger.
Everything is delicious and prepared fresh for you. They offer a full lineup of your favorite beverages with drink specials daily, and don't forget their $5 Monster Bomb.
Ice cold beer.
All day, every day. With 2 floors of seating and 20 high-def televisions, there's not a bad seat in the house to catch every minute of the NFL action.
Watch what you want.
McGinney's is the official home of the Rochester Steelers fan club.
Steelers!
So come on down to McGinney's Sports Pub, 2246 East River Road in Henrietta.
SteelerNationLive.net. It's live. Join Big O, Big T every Tuesday night at 7 p.m. New York's only in-depth analysis of the Pittsburgh Steelers. Black and gold. Game review. Injury report. Releases. Who got fired? Fantasy stats. Fantasy football. Rumor. Anything and everything you want to know about the black and gold. SteelerNationLive.net.
Hello, Steeler Nation. I'm Big O for Steeler Nation Live with your future weather forecast for this upcoming game Sunday, November 10th at Heinz Field, where the Pittsburgh Steelers will be hosting the Buffalo Bills. Now, the high temperature is going to be 49 degrees with the low 37, and it's going to be mostly cloudy with a 30% chance of rain. Now, you all know what that means. You get cold weather, precipitation. You're going to get some snow, possibly snow, but it's a 1 o'clock game, so you might not see till later that day. Once again, I'm Big O for Steeler Nation Live with your Steeler future weather forecast. Welcome back to Steeler Nation Live. I'm Big O.
I'm Big Tiz.
And this is the part of the show where we're going to do our pregame of our next opponent for next week, which will be the Buffalo Bills. We'll be hosting the Bills at Heinz Field for a 1 o'clock game. I hear the weather's not going to be that great. Cold 40s, rain, so might see some snowflakes, I don't know. But, that's Steeler football weather right there.
Exactly.
Big Tiz.
Well, you know what? The Buffalo Bills coming into Pittsburgh, the Bills are last in their division at 3-6. But the Bills, they play game for every game that they have. I mean, these guys come out and they play hard for every game they have. They're almost in identical situation as the Steelers with a lot of injuries, a lot of guys out, quarterback's not starting, third string starting. We have a starter, but their defense is a little bit better than ours. I think they really are. You know,
Younger, faster.
right.
But also with the running game, they almost have the merry-go-round, or whatever you want to say, the multiple backs. They're all great running backs for the
Right.
Buffalo Bills. Spiller, Jackson, Tashard,
Right. And
Choice.
they have another young one by the name of Woods, I believe.
Right. And
Who's
these kids are alternating each week. Who's hurt, who's not hurt. So we don't really know what type of a running game or who's going to be in the backfield, as well as the quarterback. E.J. Manuel is slated to start because he's also injured, coming back. Tool's doing a I won't say great job, but he's doing a good enough job to get the Bills going through this part of the season. But the thing about, like you said, Big Tiz, the Bills are always in every game. It just, they can't finish it, and stupid mistakes. Sound like us?
Pretty much.
Pretty much.
Well, you know, they lost to the Chiefs 23-13, but the Bills were in that game.
A game they should have won.
Right, a game they could have won. They could have won the game big time, but the fact is the Bills had some costly turnovers, a 100-yard interception return.
Oh, yeah.
Against the Chiefs, and also they had a strip late in the game where the Chiefs took it back in with their defense again. So
just a game that they were out-coached, not because of who Andy Reid is and that they came in to Rich Stadium with an undefeated record, because Buffalo could have won this game. It was just, I believe, it was the poor coaching from the Buffalo Bills.
very, very, very possible. I just see that the Chiefs right now, they have one of the top-ranked defenses in the NFL, and they're playing lights out. I mean, they go after guys, they get the sacks they need at the timely sacks they need and the turnovers they need. You know, I mean, realistically, that game would have been 13-13 if it wasn't for those two turnovers, and the Bills could have had a chance to win it. But, you know, the defense is solid for the Chiefs. And, the Bills, right now, the Bills is a team out there. They have a solid running game. And that's one thing the Steelers right now are showing that they have problems with stopping the run. So that's going to be a very, very hard thing for the Steelers to put a control on.
Right, I think Buffalo's ranked 6th in the league in rushing, and I believe 28th in passing. So you know what that's going to lead up to the keys of victory. We'll talk about that later. But it's just the inconsistent quarterbacking of the Buffalo Bills, not to mention the injuries, that are stopping them. Because, like I said earlier, that Buffalo, every game that they lost, they should have won, had a chance to win. It's not like a lopsided victory like what happened to us in New England on Sunday. But Buffalo is, every game of this year, Buffalo has always been in it. Now, this is a kind of team, we talked about this every week. You know, I'm blue in the face right now. We cannot, even with the Buffalo Bills, play catch-up.
Right.
Because once we get up, like we caught up to the Patriots 24-24 at one point, where it looked like my prediction was going to be right when I predicted we were going to win 27-24 with a late winning field goal. I was a little nervous about that. I'm like, Big Tiz, I think I hit this one on the head. I blinked. 41-24. What happened? You go to the bathroom and you come back. What happened? Did they just somebody playing with the clock, the scoreboard? What happened? Horrible.
Yeah. And like I said, like you alluded to earlier, E.J. Manuel will possibly be the starter for the Bills in this game, just coming off an injury himself. So let's hope the Steelers can finally get together a 60-minute game where they're playing hard on offense and defense and take control of the Bills and beat the Bills soundly. So let's talk about some of the keys to victory for the Steelers in beating the Buffalo Bills.
Number one, Big Tiz, like I said, the 6th-ranked offense in the NFL, we have to stop them. Force whoever's quarterbacking to beat us in the air.
Exactly.
Now, with the pressure we put on Brady and the stop of the run, if we do that to E.J. Manuel or Tua, whoever's quarterback for the Bills, we're going to win this game because we have the tools. Just like I alluded to earlier, 55-31. It wasn't 55-10 or 55-3. We do have some kind of offense. We have some kind of ability to create and score. We have to do that first, and we have to do it often.
Exactly. And the Steelers have to force the quarterback into errant passes, and they have to put heavy pressure on him. Number one, because you got a young quarterback that's in the pocket, and he can make mistakes if you pressure him, and we have to keep pressure, and we have to keep it constant. It can't be like how we were doing the last 7 games or so, to where we're getting close, but we don't get to them. Right. So you can make the guys out there look good, like the prior for the Oakland Raiders. We made him look halfway decent. Those are things that's scary. And I see that, granted it was an away game, but, that can just as well happen in Pittsburgh. So we have to be on top of that.
Now, also keys to victory as well. Not only do we have to stop their run, we have to create turnovers. We have to be the plus minus. We have to be ahead of the game on those. Also, we have to bring our running game to the table. We have to block, protect Ben. Also, our defense, big. Our defense has to show up for this game. Obviously, they were in the hot dog stand or out in the parking lot with the tailgate party. The defense was not there. I don't know if it was some Halloweeners with their costumes got onto the field and they took over the defense, because it wasn't us.
Exactly.
It wasn't us.
And like I said, if those things can happen, the Steelers can control the game, put pressure on that quarterback, kind of, force him to go to a strictly passing game. The Steelers can win this game. And I'm very confident that the Steelers might, hopefully, at least this one game, score on their first initial possession. That would be nice to see as a Steeler fan.
I do.
A field goal or something to show that, we're going to take control of this game on our first initial drive. You have to set precedents sometimes. You don't let these guys come into your house and they have them scoring first.
Right. I predict, here's my score, Big Tiz, 17-13 Pittsburgh.
That sounds like a good number. But I'm going to go out on a limb and say 20-10.
Pittsburgh 2010?
Right. And I'm just hoping that Pittsburgh can start off with a touchdown drive and show that, those other games are behind us. Let's go forward and let's score. Let's show these guys that we're in control and this is the new Pittsburgh. This is a turnaround. But the Steelers have to make a lot of changes, and it has to be now. We've said that many times before, but it has to take effect right now.
All right.
So you know what? Hey, we're wanting to go on to our next segment of Gone But Not Forgotten, but there are a lot of other things that happen in the NFL. Mike Wallace from Gone But Not Forgotten, 6 catches for 82 yards.
Pretty decent.
Yeah.
Pretty decent.
0 touchdowns.
And I believe Mendenhall had a bye.
Yeah.
Which
he's been usually playing like that anyway.
Yep. Bye numbers.
And
Harrison?
2 tackles.
Harrison?
2 tackles.
What?
Yeah.
We got to do Harrison now. Harrison, let's hear what he's got.
2 tackles.
All right, Big Tiz. 2 tackles with Harrison. All right. Sounds great.
So like I said, these are guys that used to be with the Steelers on Gone But Not Forgotten, and they went on to different teams. And, as you can see right now, Wallace is the only one who's actually there. He's not producing the way that they would probably like because of the money they're paying this guy.
Oh, if you look at this, any other player who's not making whatever he's making ridiculous, you would... Who cares?
Exactly. Because when I look at the numbers that Wallace has, I kind of still compare him for the money he's getting to Hartline, who plays for the Miami Dolphins. And you're paying this guy a lot of money to produce the same type of numbers.
It's not good.
So you have to look at it in that way.
Not good.
Hey, but you know what? We would still wish those guys well. They were ex-Steelers, and they helped us get to where we needed to get in certain instances. So much luck to these guys.
Yes.
You know what, guys? We're going to go to commercial. When we come back, we're going to give you Big Tiz and Big O's final thoughts here for the night. And we're going to let you guys know it here on Steeler Nation Live. Coming up next.
4 of a kind consignment and resale, Jeromesville, Ohio. Everyone knows everybody. Everyone calls your friend. You don't need an invitation. Just kick off your shoes and come on in. At 4 of a kind consignment and resale, they have antiques, vintage items, electric items, clothing, and housewares. 4 of a kind consignment and resale is a 4-generation family-owned establishment that also has Muffler and More, Spade Web Design and Publishing, and Spade Enterprises, a business that loves and cares about the community. Even though they are in Ohio, 4 of a kind consignment and resale has a ton of Steeler items for sale now and even more during the season. They're closed on Mondays, but they're open Tuesdays through Sundays. Call Heidi. Her phone number is 567-203-7858. That's Heidi at 567-203-7858. Or look for her on the web at spadeinc.com/4oak.html. They ship everywhere.
Welcome back to Steeler Nation Live. I'm Big Tiz.
I'm Big O.
Hey guys, I'm going to give you my final thoughts for tonight on what the Steelers are doing and my thoughts of what position I see them going into. You know what? I've watched the games that are up to this point right now of the Steeler games, and to be honest, I've seen a lot of things that frighten me as a Steeler fan. I've been a Steeler fan. I'm not going to give my age away, but for a long time. And the Steelers are the Steelers right now are not playing up to par as what I'm used to of seeing a Steeler fan, seeing a Steeler do. And the thing about that is the Steelers have to stay focused. Right now, Tomlin's got a lot of things on his plate, and Tomlin has to make decisions on who he's going to keep, who he's going to let go. If you're not producing, like I said, you got to have that Belichick type of mind thought. If they're not producing, we got to let you go. And the thing about that is that if you let a guy go, you got to find a guy that you can plug into that spot and make it work. And the Steelers are lacking that right now. I see the Steelers going into a position right now to where we're struggling for each game. We're still trying to find an identity on offense. We're still trying to find an identity on defense. But the thing about it is if the Steelers can start to string together some 60 minutes of football, the Steelers can start to win games. And the Steelers are not out of it yet. The record looks bleak, but they're not out of it yet. So you guys who are Steelers fans, hold on to the thought that the Steelers still have a chance. No matter which way you go down fighting, and the Steelers have to do that, especially the defense. You guys are on point this week. You have to be the ones to step up and show what you got. Pull out that old Steeler moxie and bring it back home to the black and yellow where it belongs here in Heinz Field. You got to do it for the Steelers. I say the Steelers win this week, but the Steelers, they have to take each game as it comes, and you have to play hard each game. So you know what? I see the Steelers winning this game, but the next game comes out, the Steelers have to be able to recuperate from that, especially with injuries that come along with each game. And the Steelers have a lot of work ahead of them. So Steelers, let's do it this week. Beat the Buffalo Bills, and then we can move on to the next game. Get us in a positive win situation. Get the mind thought straight and everything in a positive way. So from Big Tiz, let's go black and gold.
Well said, Big Tiz. And what I did last night is I pulled up my DVDs. I got the 6 DVD set of the Steelers Super Bowls, the history of Super Bowls, and I popped in that last DVD where we beat the Cardinals. Now, during this DVD, it has interviews with Mike Tomlin, Roethlisberger, and so on and so on. What impressed me the most when Mike Tomlin came to Pittsburgh was his will to win, his will to get the job done, and didn't matter who liked him or what. This guy was, obviously he's a very young coach, and he wanted to win. He didn't care if players were his age or older. He was running the show. And I think that his mindset back then needs to be recreated once again. I think we're falling on a level of complacency where there's not that, there's not that fear of, one, losing my job or even not playing the next game because, who I am, what my name is, and I'm going to be starting. Right now, Tomlin said that people are going to lose their jobs because they're not playing right. I think this is the right thing to do. I think you need to sit these so-called Pro Bowlers and starters down and let these young kids come in. Give them a shot because he's got to get back to that I'm the coach, you're the player. And I think we've seen this in history with Bill Cowher. Once you get to a level of complacency, it's not that the players don't want to play for you anymore. It's just the will to play is not there anymore. And I think that Tomlin's got to lay the hammer down on these guys and say, I'm not going to take this anymore because I'm here to stay. This is a Steeler winning tradition, and we're not getting the job done. And is it too late? I hope not. But Tomlin should have been a little bit more stricter 3 games back on players and their level of play and the way their attitudes are. We talked about ALE, accountability, leadership, and execution. We had somewhat of that in the game before the Patriots, but now this is what we need to do. We need to be accountable. We need our leaders to step up, and we need to execute. We're not doing any of that. It's just everybody's looking around for somebody else to blame. It's blocking. Roethlisberger throwing the ball all over the place. The receivers are running their routes. The running backs aren't going through the right holes. We're not blocking the right schemes. You know what? We know what excuses are. And everybody has one. But you know what? This is the time that Tomlin has got to lay down the law. This is where Tomlin says, if you don't want to play for me 60 minutes, there's the door. You don't belong on this team. I don't care who you are or what your name is. Now is the time to stop the BS. Now is the time to start playing some football, 60 minutes of football. We can do this. We can beat the Bills next week, and we just need something. You know, the Jets victory, I said, that's our foundation the rest of the season. And so far, that's not panning out. Our foundation is crumbling. Right now, this is it. Bills, we have to start for the future. We can make the playoffs. We still have a pulse. We're not dead yet. We're not out of it because of our weak division. Had we been in a division that's halfway decent, you could write this season off. But you know what? Lucky as we are right now, we still have a chance to make that number 2 spot or even the number 1 spot. We can be a 500 club team and still make the playoffs, or even one game above 500. But the BS has got to stop now. You guys got to get out there and you got to do your job. And Mike Tomlin, I hope it's not too late. Lay down the hammer. Be the coach that you were when you came to this team. You didn't care who liked you or whatnot. You're going to get the job done, and you're going to bring another Lombardi Trophy to Pittsburgh. I'm Big O for Steel Nation Live.
Well said, Big O. Well said, brother.
All right, man.
There you have it, another edition of Steel Nation Live. You know what? We'd like to thank you guys for giving us much support. Facebook, Twitter, all you guys, the feedback we love that you have coming into us, and we read it, believe me. So keep it coming to us here on Steel Nation Live. So again, another episode in the books, and we thank you guys for viewing us and checking us out here on Steel Nation Live. From Big Tiz,
Big O,
another Steelers show in the books. Next time on Steel Nation Live.
You know, it is a stone, man. It's a stone, and this is the Big Tiz, Big O, it's Big Tiz, Big O, Still a Nation, Big Tiz, Big O.